found this in Ganneroom. Gannermere. What is it? Well, it's Synthaholics.
Welcome to Synthaholics, guys. It's your host, David Duncan, and with me is...
Aaron O'Brien. And we have our special guest today, Chris Scioli. He is the... If you haven't heard him before on the show, he...
Shame on you.
Yeah. Why haven't you been listening? He is with Ominous Press. He's also the co-founder and festival director for Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival and Sleeping Giant. Well, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I am good.
That's great.
I'm good, too. How are you?
We are all well. So, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes.
Happy New Year. First episode of the new year.
Yeah. How do you feel? Do you feel new? Do you feel fresh?
Did you watch fireworks?
Did you?
Did you shoot up fireworks?
I did not. I did not.
Oh. But who are we? We are Synthaholics. We're synthaholics.com. You can find us on Facebook at Facebook/group/Synthaholics. On Twitter, we're at Synthaholic Duo. I am at David_J_Duncan.
I'm Blackbird 2004.
And Guy is at GS Davis Art.
He's not here right now. Guy's not here.
We were a little late notice on this. Sorry, Guy. I just found out yesterday.
So this episode of the new year, we thought we'd talk about something a little old and a little new.
It's like the best of both worlds or something.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the Next Generation episode, Best of Both Worlds 1 and 2. And this episode came out on June 18th, 1990. Season 3, episode 26. Written by Michael Piller, directed by Cliff Bowl. Wonderful episode.
Two episodes.
Well, wonderful story.
I like, I don't know, like a couple of years ago, they had the Fathom events when they were doing the Blu-ray release of the Star Trek on Blu-ray for the 25th anniversary and they were putting in like once a month. And they put Best of Both Worlds in as like they edited it together as one giant episode. Did you all know about that?
I didn't know that.
You told me about this.
Oh, yeah, but it was great. Like, this is actually before I knew you, because I was writing obituaries at the time.
Wonderful job.
Yes. Yes. It's actually very thematic for 2016. I was not working there in 2016.
Right.
But it was great. They edited the movie together, and they showed a bunch of like behind-the-scenes stuff before that was going to be on the Blu-ray. And one of the funny things is, like, Patrick Stewart came on, and, like, people would recognize him, like, you know, right after Best of Both Worlds. And, like, you ruined our summer! And, like, they were yelling at him for, like, you know.
Yeah, no doubt.
For that cliffhanger. It's like I have anything to do with it.
Well, actually, I did read that one of the things that they didn't know if they were going to renew Patrick Stewart's contract or he wanted to stay on the show, and that they were going to write him off. And this was one of the things they were going to do. They were going to put Riker as captain of the Enterprise if Stewart decided not to stay on the show. But
I thought he signed for 6 seasons at the beginning.
There was a rumor at the time that there was going to be, and they weren't saying who. They were saying it was going to be a major departure on the show. That's what they were expecting. Probably during contract negotiations. That's usually when it happens.
Probably.
And then you had this cliffhanger, so everyone just presumed it was going to be him. It was going to be Patrick Stewart, which would have been a mistake.
But then it was nobody.
Nobody.
Beverly Crusher still stayed somehow. I mean, Gates McFadden stayed.
They all stayed, besides Denise Crosby, and she came back because she realized it wasn't exactly what she thought.
Yesterday's
You always
Enterprise.
have to love when actors or actresses make that decision to like exit a series early on. Oh, now it's a major hit, and now
I need to come back. Well, it's a good thing because like they were gonna cut. Like I remember, like I think I was listening to one of the Women at Warp episodes. They interviewed like Denise Crosby or Marina Sirtis or something, and they had said something that, like, you know, basically if like Dennis Crosby didn't quit, like they would have like fired like Troy or Beverly or something like it was like I can't remember who. Budgetary or just like, well, I guess they wanted to like redo the ratio of men to women or something like that. But if like you know it's a good thing she left because someone might have gotten axed just from
I remember
something.
that. I remember reading about that too as well.
Also, the only thing I didn't like about seeing it in the movie theater was because this is a 2-part episode, And the cliffhanger is probably part of what makes the episode so great. When the last thing you hear in the first episode is fire.
Right.
And then it's like got that dun 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 like dramatic music. And because it's edited together as one just movie, basically, all the music was gone and it just went into the next scene. So it's just kind of like it just didn't have the same feel. Like this episode is meant to be two separate episodes, not one entity.
Yeah. Well, just before we jump on the show, I just want to talk to Chris here and just see what's going on with Ominous Press. I know you guys have been hard at work with getting new issues out, and also with the Dream Festival. I know you guys just went through you just had the festival recently in November.
Yes. We finished our fourth year in November. It was the biggest year for us. We had great attendance. We had over 30 plus filmmakers come in from out of town and stay in Buffalo. That number's going up every year, and it was a great event. It's a lot of fun, and it's an obscene amount of work, but it's worth it. And it really is. People have no concept. It's like my business partner and I, we just don't sleep.
Yeah,
and that is Greg Lamberson, he's an author and a filmmaker.
But last time you were saying like you didn't speak to each other right after the film festival because it was so horrible. Was it better this year?
Well, usually we don't. Usually because we're so exhausted, we shake hands and then find a way to sleep for a couple.
You
days.
both walk into the oceans like Godzilla.
Exactly. It's so worn out. We broke it up a little. We actually did a 10-day festival this year, which was one of the we showed over 105 films. And one of the reasons is we always have to reject films we like, and we extended it over a second weekend so that we could show even more good stuff, and that's going to be the format moving forward into 2017. And as far as Ominous Press goes, we're at issue 3 of the Legendary series, which is finishing up Bart Sears stories from the 90s. And then issue 4 is coming out, and that's where all the new material is going to begin, where you're going to see the 3 different comic books, Prometheus, Giant Killers, Demigod will be coming out.
That's great. And I know just because I've been following everything that you guys have been doing, that you've been like basically everywhere. You were in New York City. And,
yes. Just finished up a convention in Las Vegas. And now working on like the schedule for 2017 to see what shows we're going to attend. There's always like the kind of the big ones, and then but it's funny. Like some of the smaller shows are so great because they're really more about
Buffalo
the
Comic Con. That's a pretty small show.
The value to those, I think, always is that when you have those giant shows, even like San Diego, it becomes more about people just wanting to see celebrities and waiting in those long lines.
Yeah.
Where it's smaller shows, though, you have like the celebrities tend to be the artists and writers for comic books, and it's more about people appreciating
the craft.
You know. So I think you have your positives and negatives, but the big ones are great. At New York Comic Con was like 100,000 people.
It had a great time at the Buffalo Comic Con this year. I got to see you again, like right after we recorded. It was like, oh yeah, hey.
Yeah, and it's nice that we have 2 big conventions in the city now.
So. You pointed out that like the Harley Quinn variant cover artist was there. And you're like, oh, go get it signed. I was like, sweet, I'll go do that. Yeah. I bought it. It was pretty awesome.
And aside from that, things are going well, and it's it's good to do something that you really enjoy. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, because I just always worry from what you've told me with the Buffalo Film Festival. You're so exhausting what you put yourself through. That
well, as we move forward and as things grow, we're going to start reaching out and having as many as more people that can help maybe watch some films and stuff like that, because it is exhausting. I mean, we had 350 submissions last year. The only way to do that right is to watch. Now, mind you, a portion of those were screenplays. But we have to watch every single film, and sometimes you watch it more than once. So do the math.
Yeah, how long that takes.
And when you get a massive flood near the end of your submission close, you are just up all night watching movies and taking notes, and it's a labor of love, really.
That does sound utterly exhausting. I love movies, and I don't watch movies all that often. I just don't have time.
I think I'd become delirious after a while.
Too. It's like, well, what's funny is I go back and sometimes I go back to look at my notes when there's the judges going on, and sometimes my note is indicative of my state of mind, but it brings back the film. Like I remember one was worst newscaster ever. It was the actress they chose.
They chose.
And it ruined the whole scene.
You're just like, I hate this.
I can't stand it.
That's funny.
You know, it was just one of those funny things.
And there's just the things that you think about when you're half, you know, you're trying to pay attention, but your brain
you
is
really do, and
fried.
it's an exhausting. But again, you know, when you really love doing something, then it's totally worth it. You know,
That's great.
So.
Well, we'll jump into the episode here just so everyone can enjoy the best of both worlds that we all share, and that is Borg coming to Earth. Yeah.
They're coming to Earth, guys. Just set your clocks to midnight and they'll be here.
That's right. They're going to assimilate.
So the episode starts.
Shoot off your fireworks. It'll be fine.
Well, they shot off their fireworks at the New Providence colony, and unfortunately, the Borg came. So New Providence colony seems like one of the furthest. They say it's one of the furthest colony away from, you know, in Federation space.
They were Quakers and pilgrims, and they had their hats with the belt buckles on them.
They're making oats and bed frames.
I love when it's like 1,000 years in the future and a space colony is, you know, they show up and it's just a farm.
Yeah. And they're all wearing straw hats.
They're all like, what?
There's donkeys, pulling
Pigs and chickens
This
just
is
like
what we're
everywhere.
doing.
You know, we do have technology for all this stuff, you know. But
It's funny, like how they find New Providence as the giant crater in the ground, because we've never I think this is the only time the Borg have ever done anything that kind of destructive. They usually just like take things over, not like.
I just wonder if
they don't do massive excavation.
Yeah.
They just like a giant, like is there like a giant like hook that comes out of the sphere that goes.
Just scoops them up. Oh, then they sift out the organic matter
And they assimilate. Oh man, I gotta assimilate that space slug.
Actually, that'd be hilarious if they had one of those giant sifting screens that archaeologists use.
Yeah.
They're like,
Where's the gold? Where's the gold?
People and the rocks are left, you know.
just dump them in the machine.
So Riker, Data, and Worf and LaForge all go down to the planet. They find it's all scooped out and gone.
Where are we in the right place?
And couldn't there
I love when they ask that question.
You're in the middle of town. How come the middle of town is off to the side of town?
Yeah, and how come their scanners just couldn't say there's a giant hole in the ground?
Yeah.
It's like, are you at the right coordinates? Last time I checked, the coordinates have X, Y, and Z axes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, if they were in the middle of town, they were like,
they would have fallen. They would have fallen to their death if they were beamed to the correct coordinates.
That would be amazing. I'd love to see that.
I mean, if you could just scan for individual life forms on an entire planet, then you can pretty much see that
the
a city's
space
gone.
larva.
Right? Oh, there's just a hole there.
Well, that was the teaser, and you kind of got Borg's here. So the next after the commercial break. You have the Enterprise traveling alongside another ship, and it has Admiral Hansen and Commander Shelby, and they're basically telling Captain Picard and Riker that Starfleet is not ready to take on the Borg since they've basically discovered the Borg. They're like, we've
been sitting on our hands.
Well, they've been developing things, but they're just not ready for it yet.
We've been eating lots of little slugs, little worms.
Little worms.
Oh, yeah.
Maggots. Yeah, we've been too busy doing that.
It's been a busy year for us. So they basically say that they're underprepared and that they're trying their best to get the fleet up to snuff. But what happens is that we get the revelation that Riker was been giving. Multiple commands.
This is his third offer for his own ship.
No.
And Riker's just like the ultimate slacker.
Well, I don't know if he's a slacker. I think he's got daddy issues, which I think we've discussed before in this episode.
He had daddy issues, and it was like he was just, I want this ship.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
he's waiting. He's just waiting for a field promotion.
Daddy issues, but also a little bit of an Oedipus complex because he wanted Picard out of the way.
So you think he's waiting until Picard goes on a away mission and doesn't come back?
Do
you think he's that diabolical?
I don't know. His brother was Tom.
Tom was
brother twin.
Yeah.
Murder twin powers unite.
See, you know what? Riker would. There was always something that made me think maybe he shouldn't be a captain. Like when he would just sit on the weapons console to have a conversation.
Yeah.
he puts
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
No
with
point
a
did
hot
his ass
chick.
launch a photon torpedo. But you
How did
wonder,
that not happen?
You know, there's this. He just park his ass on the console and nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Oh, I also like how like he's too busy. I mean, Generations is a prime example of him being a terrible, leader. It's like, what's the weakness of a bird of prey? Oh, maybe it's 100-year-old chip. Maybe that's a weakness.
That guys are still flying that. You know,
Like, it's like they're flying. That's basically a motorcycle, and you're in a aircraft carrier. Come on.
well, yeah, it's a modern day car chase with like a Model T coming up the road after you. You know, you could like beat it with a Toyota.
Well, anyway, so he was offered the Melbourne, and Commander Shelby is a supposed expert on Borg and the Borg threat. Commander Shelby basically...
When has she seen the Borg ever?
She hasn't.
Where does she get her
But see, that's
expert
that's a great
from?
point because it's like the expert is someone who's had no like personal interaction with this alien race.
Well, and apparently from what Admiral Hansen says, that everyone had their own opinions of what to do with the Borg, but she was the only one that kind of cut through the BS and was like, this is what we have to do. I don't, this is what was said.
Maybe she helped design the Defiant with Cisco.
Maybe.
You also have like a perfect example of the phenomena that exists on Star Trek where people from other ships are like jerks.
Yeah, everyone else is
like any other ship.
everyone
they're
else
like,
is an
oh,
asshole.
God, I would never want to be on that ship.
Yeah, it's like everyone's an asshole.
Exactly.
Yeah. Who was the commander and oh God, which one was that?
Oh, the episode where Picard went on the secret mission?
Yeah.
Like he was just a dick.
Yeah.
Jellicoe.
Jellicoe.
God, I hate that guy so much.
Yeah.
He made Troy put on a regular uniform. Like, what's wrong with you, dude?
Cover.
Cover the cleavage
Clever that up because I can't control my feelings.
What was it? He reminds
and my penis.
Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to go into what it reminds me of. Anyways, but So Shelby assumed that she was going to take over his position because she thought that he was going to be transferred to the Melbourne as captain.
So she's trying to play stuck up to Picard.
Yeah, and basically Riker is kind of like, F
Hey,
you, this is my job.
My job.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving.
So Hansen has a candid conversation with Picard, basically saying, what's up with Riker? Why isn't he jumping onto the next level of his career? And you got to give him a little kick in the ass.
Yeah, but Riker's very comfortable on the luxury casino ship of the Federation. He doesn't want to go to the station wagon of the Federation.
No, he's become quite.
Sometimes you see some of those other ships and they're just
They look like they're from Kirk's era. They're also 100-year-old
well,
ships.
clearly they're still using a Reliant class.
Yeah.
And, or they have the one on occasion that would show up. It looks sort of like the Discovery from 2000.
Sure, yeah. And they're still wearing the old uniforms from Wrath of Khan, so
Yeah.
they haven't even upgraded their uniforms.
The Excelsior is still
Yeah, how's the Excelsior, whatever it is, 50 years later, 60 years later, still in play?
That was the Enterprise B design. Really, you haven't
Yeah.
recycled. You haven't there's nothing newer. Unfortunately, it just
I'm sure there's been a couple updates.
Unfortunately, it just comes down to the problem of Star Trek and budget. Star Trek's never been a big budget thing. So
yeah, and it was. I remember in the '90s there was complaints saying, "Oh, we're spending $100,000 an episode on effects." Today, that's nothing. You know,
right.
But yeah, there's that, and
that's per opener today.
but still, it's where do these other ships? The flea market? Is that where they're coming from?
I don't know.
Well, next, so Shelby, Commander Shelby, who is gunning for Riker's job, is invited to a poker game where she basically calls Riker's bluff because Riker has.
How does Troy never win? She's got her feeling synthesizer thing. She should win every single.
And how
game.
does Data not win? Just doing the numbers of the cards,
crunching the numbers. Yeah.
Well, maybe he's playing fair.
I mean, he's basically the Rain Man of the whole.
But whenever he went to the Casino Royale in that episode, he won everything he did.
Right. That's why
he even crunched dice back into the correct weight.
Well, it's the same thing with when I forgot what is it where No Man's Gone Before, where Kirk beats Spock at 3D chess. It's like,
No.
No.
it's just I know Kirk isn't dumb, but I don't think you could beat Spock. I'm
You
sorry.
kind of needed him.
Yeah.
But
anyways, so Shelby beats the pants off Riker, kind of showing him up. So after that, the next morning, they're supposed to go down to the colony, or what remains of the colony, to do some analyzing. Shelby basically jumps the gun, goes there an hour early with Data to collect samples and everything like that. And, Riker's justifiably pissed that he, that she jumped the gun.
His orders were subverted. It could have been dangerous down here. What, next to the giant hole? I might have fallen in. There's no rope.
What samples and readings haven't you gotten already?
Why didn't you take them yesterday?
Yeah, and why can't you go at night?
From what we can tell, it was a very big scoop, potentially bigger than we originally
It's the
thought.
biggest scoop we've ever seen.
Instead of a giant bugle, we've got a giant scoop potato chip.
A giant spoon. Giant spoon that went through.
It's like the planet scooper instead of the planet killer.
So, so basically there is sort of a, I don't want to say dress down, but basically saying that you can't
make your head spin so fast you feel like you're a first-year cadet.
Yeah, but so then they have a lot of, there's a lot of meetings from there, basically trying to figure the configuration of weapons and shields and how to defeat the Borg, and there's...
The Borg. They are pretty boring.
Bored. We don't want to be bored for the rest of our life. And again, another confrontation between Shelby and Riker about
orders
of how she needs to sleep and she doesn't want to sleep. So
do it now or I'll make you tired.
Wasn't her hair annoying?
Yeah, that did stand out.
Her hair's weird, but I really like Shelby. I love her as a character.
I like her character.
I'm really upset that they never brought her back ever.
I'm upset that they didn't do anything better with her hair. It was kind of sitting up there in that weird...
just,
product of the 90s. What can you say?
Exactly.
Janeway, her hair unfurled.
Yeah.
her bun unfurled.
Yes.
Janeway.
They just don't know what to do with women's hair in Star Trek. They get so hung up on it. They do just weird things. Like, her hair didn't bother me. I guess I'm just used to seeing it all weird.
Well, anyways, from there, besides their hair...
I saw it on the big screen. What you see on the big screen,
Just rubbing that in everybody's face. I saw this on the big screen.
I saw it on the big screen.
It's got different insights now.
Yeah, I know.
Like you're smarter than us or something.
No, it's just I've seen it so big. Like, her hair was as big as I was. I'm like, it just, you just don't, it doesn't faze you anymore.
It doesn't shock you anymore after that. There's not much that does. So after that, they get a call by Admiral Hansen, basically saying that one of their ships was attacked by the Borg and they went missing. Enterprise goes at maximum warp to see what's going on, and from there they engage the Borg. Again, they find they are just completely outmatched by the Borg. Everything they've planned in their planning sessions
does not work.
Shelby does come up with some kind of tactic to focus their phasers on the tractor beam that's pulling the Enterprise and to blow that up. So that did work for the Enterprise. Shelby did save the Enterprise there. Enterprise takes off. The Borg pursues, and then they go and jump into a nebula and hide.
Because that's the best thing. There's always a nebula.
And still to this day, nebulas. Like Wrath of Khan started the whole nebula.
And I think it's the exact same scenery from.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the exact same design of the nebula. It's great. It's great. Like that nebula is everywhere.
Instead of it's the Mutarum Nebula, it's a different nebula, which I don't think they name, and if they do, I don't remember. Anyway, so they hide in the nebula for quite a while, and they kind of get the ship back in order. And once they find out that, obviously there's still conflict between Shelby and... this whole episode is basically Riker
and Shelby going at each other.
Yeah, Shelby's basically gunning for Riker's job, and
she should be. She wants to turn on the luxury liner.
Just to touch on it real quickly, I find in this episode probably the most interesting, the first Best of Both Worlds Part 1, interesting that Riker is kind of like he's having a hard time finding his footing, because he wants to stay commander, he does want to jump to the next level, And even Picard has a discussion with him. He's like, you don't need a safety net. You can go off and do your own thing. I found it somewhat moving and interesting at the same time. Like, when it's like, I think we've all been in that kind of position where, like, when are you going to jump to the next thing? Like when
but at the same time, like, he had a good job.
It's
right?
cushy.
He was a commander, but he could still goof off, hang out in 10 forward. So he probably had some of his own, Picard handles the paperwork.
Yeah. I mean, like in the Federation, there's no real motivation to go on to the next thing unless you really, really, really want to be captain.
Well, that or you just like certain color uniforms.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, like, there's no pay. I mean, like, other than if he's trying to satisfy the ego trip, I mean...
But I do think it is part of ambition. That's what I think it all comes down to, is how far your ambition is going to take you. Like, what do you want to do with your life, and how... I don't know. I think there is something to be said about it. We've talked about this multiple times, and someday we will do a show just on the economics of Starfleet and the Federation. But
I think that's actually been requested. I think Andrew actually requested that.
I would love to do one. We do have to talk about that at some time.
We'll have to do some actual research.
It's going to be a ton of. It's going to have to be a ton of research. But I do think there is some credence to it. I don't know if it works completely, but I do think there's. I think a lot of us, if we were just given, hey, all your needs in life are taken care of, just do what you want to do. I think we could. If we were given the right, motivation.
I mean, we talked a little bit about this when we did the.
We talked with a guy I know.
Yeah, it was the Trump episode that we did. The
Trump episode.
No, the districts episode where like.
Oh yeah,
and we talked about that a little bit, like how money
the Deep Space Nine,
the two-parter with BC.
yeah, Kid Rock of Deep Space Nine.
Kid Rock.
I can't remember right now. I'm sorry if it escapes me.
But the concept of a future where it's more than your basic needs. It's not a matter of just your basic needs are taken care of. Pretty much all your needs,
except for maybe like love and family. And stuff
it does come down to
all your basic physical needs.
Right.
You've got shelter, food.
Well, the Maslow's hierarchy, basically, you're taking care of just the basic needs, your food, shelter. And
actually, physical and sex is taken care of too. In that you've got holodecks.
So like all of your standard like earthly life worries are taken away. So then it just becomes a matter of what do I want to do with my life and what do I care to?
Do you want to just sit around and do nothing,
or
do you want to actually do something with your life? And I'm sure there's tons of people that do nothing, but there might be a good amount of people that do, move forward and do some amazing things. Well, anyways, going back
he's going to be the most amazing commander of the Enterprise for like
maybe
15
he just wants
years.
Maybe he just wants to be commander of the Enterprise. That's all he ever aspired to.
Yeah, I like it.
That's nothing wrong with that, I guess. And when you think about it,
yeah, but that's what I was just saying. Like, there's no if he likes where he is, he's got no reason to go anywhere. There's
absolutely
there's not a pay bump for being captain of the Enterprise.
And that was a crafty, plot device because the fans knew, like, again, the rumor that someone major was going to depart the show, and they said, could it be, Jonathan Frakes? Could it be Patrick Stewart?
I was too young to, like, follow any of this or care. Or I had no idea any of this was happening.
And this was pre-internet, like, before it was everywhere. So you
had to be, like, reading the magazine and, like, do the fan emails and everything.
Well,
emails just, like,
there was email and there was, some basic message boards, but it wasn't very,
Yeah.
It was very different.
It wasn't a podcast or anything.
No. So anyways, just before... So they're still in the nebula. They're hiding out. And Picard has a conversation with Guinan. Guinan basically says her people were decimated, but their civilization carried on. Because Picard's worried that this might be the end of... basically the Federation and his, his civilization.
This might have been a good time to mention Sauron and that maybe he should go stop Sauron before he does something crazy.
It probably would have been good if she mentioned that to him, but maybe she figured this was not the time.
Not the time. No.
So they have this nice heart-to-heart, and it actually is it's a nice conversation that they have.
Anytime the next 4 years, could you mention that, please?
So the Borg starts basically throwing charges into the nebula, and Picard decides to bolt out of the nebula from there, and the Enterprise gets put under attack by the Borg, and this is where Picard is captured and brought into the Borg cube and assimilated into Locutus.
Yeah, they mount a rescue mission where Riker's like, I'm going to go save him, and Shelby, no, not Shelby, it's Troy. Troy's like,
tells him,
you're acting captain now.
You cannot go.
You can't go. It's like just like what you can't let. Picard
and the look on his face,
he's like, this is what I've been doing to Picard for years. Oh my god, this is the worst thing ever.
Exactly.
Is that the taste of shit in my mouth?
Oh, great.
Oh, it's Shelby shit.
Shelby shit in my mouth.
I can't do anything fun anymore.
Yeah, all your fun is taken away. That's what
the
Captain
big chair.
They're gonna walk up. Can you
flip
sign
the
this, Captain?
channels.
Oh, fine.
At the same time, basically, Picard is taken, and they're trying to retrieve Picard off the ship, and they've been devising a plan to make a super weapon of their deflector dish and make it into a giant cannon that could, take out
the Borg.
Basically, make a wave motion cannon on top of the
deflector dish.
Deflector dish. That was a Star Blazers reference, if anybody was interested. Anyways, there goes. They find Picard. Basically, he's assimilated. There's not much they can do. They have to basically get out of the ship because they're surrounded of the Borg ship. They're beamed off, and from there, Picard or Locutus contacts the Enterprise, saying that he's going to be the liaison between the humans and the Federation.
You will service us.
Yeah, and this is where Riker just decides, screw it, and he's going to fire on. And this is where we have the big
dramatic music.
The cliffhanger.
So great.
And it's great. It's a great way to end the season. Of course, like you said, it pissed off a lot of people.
Oh, but you didn't know. But it creates it's that great buzz where people that fans of the show are just going to talk about it all summer, all summer, and
It's. I mean, I think it was rated like one of the best two-parters of television for all time, like top 50 of all time or something like that. It's
it's great.
Really,
it was pretty amazing.
It won a lot of awards. These two episodes.
Right.
And there was subtle story elements in there, that the Borg felt the assimilation of the human race needed to go a little differently, and maybe humans were a little more evolved. That they felt they needed that liaison, and they had to go after, because other races they wouldn't care. They go scoop them up. And
I did have a hard time understanding why they were important enough to even bring that up. Why would the Federation need to have?
I don't know. I feel like every single race in Star Trek's pretty individualized, except for maybe the Pac-Lab.
They are, but
I mean, the Ferengi want to do their own thing.
I think to a larger extent, there's
the Cardassians are just big on subjugating Bajorans.
Writers over the years, with the whole Q element. He was kept in. I think they summed it up perfectly in the final episode where he was trying to tell them they were on a course to do something different and to evolve, and maybe that was part of the deal with that, because he wasn't Q probably wasn't hanging out with Klingons the way he did.
Well, who would want to?
Well, there's the smell.
Yeah. The prune juice.
The prune juice.
The diarrhea.
The gagh.
Oh, God. Klingon diarrhea.
I wonder if Gach's still alive when it comes out.
I do firmly believe that it
just
does.
wash it off.
Yeah.
And they reconstitute it.
What if it then is one of those delicacies
this is a twice eaten gagh.
Like the eggs, the black eggs they ferment in the ground.
Oh man,
cultures.
They can
gross.
They can capture the Klingon emperors, past gagh, and they can mark it up to really high. It's the Klingon emperor ate this gagh.
Wasn't there some kind of coffee bean that some kind of lemur would eat, and they would shit it out, and they would
It exists. It's the most expensive coffee in the world, and I've heard there's different versions of it where they say it's some sort of marsupial or a
I don't know what it was.
Eats the bean, craps out the bean, and then they roast those beans, and you get this incredible coffee. But you know what?
Cat shit coffee.
I'm fine.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine without my cat shit coffee.
I don't know what the name of that coffee is. If you know the name of that coffee, please email us.
Yes,
and let us know.
Email us, and I hope it's cat shit coffee. I really hope it is.
Cat shit coffee.
Well,
It's not Colombian. It's catch it.
So
catch it.
my
Juan Valdez.
my advice to anyone listening is to just go on Google right now and type in "catch coffee" because something's going to come up.
There might not be the answer what we're talking
Rule
about.
34, catch it coffee. Do it now. No,
Well,
please don't.
anyways.
You'll probably be blind the rest of your life.
To redirect back to the show real quickly, get away from Catch It Coffee. So part 2 starts, and we get the deflector dish firing on the Borg cube.
It does nothing.
Has no effect, and that basically comes down to, because they assimilated Picard, he has all the knowledge of everything going on with the Enterprise and the Federation.
Yes.
And so
All their codes.
Yeah.
I mean, like they.
he could just deactivate the ship, I'm sure.
Oh, probably you do the Reliant thing to the Enterprise.
Just hit the prefix code, and that's it. So anyways, Locutus basically informs them that everything's over. You're done. Just forget it. So, and they're heading off to basically Earth. And they don't even
Straight
bother.
shot.
They don't even bother taking on the Enterprise.
No, what's the Enterprise going to do? What are they going to throw at it?
The biggest thing they could throw at it did nothing.
Exactly.
It's like, oops.
Yeah. So they have a meeting with Admiral Hansen. Admiral Hansen says that they're having they're meeting the Borgard.
Wolf 359.
359.
Even getting Klingons involved, and maybe we'll even ask the Romulans if they want to party.
So they get 40 of their ships together, and unfortunately, we find out that 40 ships is still not enough.
Well, but I mean, again, these are 40 of the 50 to 100-year-old ships. I think
what they had on hand.
I think I saw a Saladin class ship in the wreckage.
That's awesome if there was.
I mean, that's a really old ship. I mean, Guy Davis loves the Saladin class.
I love Saladin too, but
I think, but it's like a
that's an antiquated ship at this point.
That's really old. Like, you might as well. I mean, I know the Archer ship wasn't invented yet, but I really want to see
the space shuttle broken and floating by.
I really want to see an NX ship float. Like, I want someone to go in and CG like an NX ship wreckage floating in there. I mean, I might as well, if we're going to use a Saladin, let's go ahead and use an NX ship that doesn't have shields.
Right. Well, so Enterprise kind of gets fixed up after they're burning out the deflector dish, and they decide to meet them up at Wolf 359.
They're late to the party.
It's late, and basically it's a complete shitstorm. The whole fleet is wiped out. So,
they're you're just waiting into a child's room with Legos all over the floor.
that had a tantrum at the same time.
Oh, man.
Destroyed everything.
This is a problem.
And so that basically spells out the doom of the Federation, because they're heading now straight for Earth. And there's not much they can do about that, because their only weapon has been fired
neutralized.
off. Yeah. So they come to one other thing. Guinan meets with Riker, has another meeting. Riker feels a little put off that that Guinan's visiting him in the middle of all this.
She's like, why are you visiting? You're the bartender.
Why don't you go down and tend?
Go tend. Go listen. So she tells him basically, which is good advice.
That me and Picard have a relationship that's deeper than a friendship, that's deeper than family, and we screw a lot.
I was his boyfriend.
Yes.
She's the frail Brucker.
Well, they addressed it on Family Guy. Did you ever, do it with Whoopi Goldberg? All the time. Patrick Stewart's response,
right, exactly. So
definitely. And she's like, just get rid of it. She's like, just forget about him. She's like, that was a quick lay.
Yeah, well, but she basically says you got to forget about him, and she's completely right, because to surpass Picard and his ideas and the way he ran the ship, you're going to have to go away from that, because he's going to expect everything that
if you do it the way he did it
by his book. So you got to throw away the Picard book and write the Riker book.
Yeah, she's definitely right, but.
So Riker takes Shelby, makes her second command.
Just because we don't like each other doesn't mean we can't work well together.
Yes.
Yeah, because you've been shitting on me
and
all.
Sleep well together.
Yeah. And from there, after that, they decide to make a couple plans. They going to separate the saucer section from the Enterprise, and they'll do a dual attack and that will be a different way to kind of, and they're going to retrieve Picard from.
Because that's the only thing they can think of. It's like, well, we can't beat them. Maybe the information can go both ways.
Yeah.
Maybe we can extract something from Picard.
Right. So Enterprise confronts the Borg cube one more time. This time, like I said, they separate the saucer section from the main ship, and they both attack. This kind of throws the Locutus.
Because they're just basically shooting fireworks at them.
That's
really what it is.
That's what it looked like, fireworks. They call it antimatter explosions.
Bursts.
Like bursts. Like, wouldn't antimatter do bigger
like
things?
big holes and things.
Well, so they basically throw the Borg off enough, and while they're doing that, the shuttlecraft goes in with the engines off so they can go through the shield.
Yes,
That works.
I think the engine off was so they didn't get shot at.
Noticed at by the Borg.
Yeah.
So they fly in with Data and Worf. They retrieve Picard off the Borg ship.
They kidnap him.
Yeah, they kidnap him.
He didn't want to leave.
No, he liked it there. The food was great.
Just standing up in this alcove. Oh my God, this gives me all my needs.
Just pure energy, just beamed right into the gut. So they bring him back to board the shuttlecraft, and they beam him off. They beamed them, all three of them, off the shuttlecraft just before the shuttlecraft was destroyed by the Borg.
Oh, nice.
So after that, what happens is they retrieve Locutus or Picard, and they start hacking into the subspace message that they're getting from the Borg, and Data hacks into, with help of Miles O'Brien, which is probably the most help Miles O'Brien has been.
They let him out of the transporter.
Yeah,
He left the transporter room? How'd that ever happen?
I know, it was interesting they would even let him do that. And meanwhile, the Borg cube is flying right towards Earth, ready to hack Earth completely up and assimilate everybody. After kind of a prolonged way of trying to figure out what the Borg command divisions are and what they can do, and Data's kind of hacking into their system
Through Picard.
Through Picard, Picard kind of comes through, and they were able to communicate with actual Picard and not the Borg side of him being Locutus. And he gives him suggestion to sleep. And just before they,
he must be so tired. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
I think I should rest and nuzzle him.
Shut up, Beverly.
So useless.
Shut up, Beverly.
Nuzzle him in my bosom.
Why don't you go put another rainbow outfit on your son and send him up to the bridge?
So
you need to clean his rainbow underwear too.
And that'd be awesome if he wore rainbow underwear. So just at that point, Riker's ready to ram the ship right into the Borg cube because they're out of options, and Data implements the sleep command and puts all the Borg to sleep. They beam aboard. They do find they're all asleep, but the ship's on some kind of overload, and it's going to self-destruct, and it does self-destruct.
I can't believe a Borg ship would have self-destruct in it.
It must be some kind of sequence that if they knew that.
I think it was they can call it whatever sci-fi term they want, some sort of feedback thing that was happening.
Feedback loop, yeah.
Blowing up the cube.
Well, so...
Let's interrupt it. Let's study the Borg. Nah. We will never be bothered by them
Well, I don't
again.
know if they'd had enough time to figure it out. I guess they could have if they really wanted.
We will never be bothered by them again. We won't take this
They'll
golden
never be a
opportunity.
problem. We've clearly blown up their only scoop.
They'll never come back. Never come back. So, and from there, the Borg cube is destroyed. Obviously, Picard is free from their control. They remove the implants off Picard, and Shelby goes on her way, and they're going to rebuild the fleet. Riker decides he's staying.
And 1 year, they're going to rebuild the fleet. You're going to build probably another 100-year-old ships. We'll rebuild all these 100-year-old ships.
Well, I kind of see it. It's got to be, hopefully they're not the 100-year-old ships.
Yeah.
Let's get that salad into that Constitution and the NX class back. Let's do it.
Let's change that up a little bit. And then so it wraps up from there, and you have a little moment at the very end where you can tell that Picard was extremely disturbed by the experience he went through.
Well, and they addressed that, of course, when he went to visit his brother.
In the very next episode, Family, which Family is an amazing episode.
Yeah, it's an amazing episode. Yeah, absolutely.
And it was good enough where they carried it over into First Contact, where they
Sure,
showed
right.
they were able because they had a budget to show like the depth of like the damage that was done to him on a psychological.
Sure, yeah, like, it was fantastic. I love and it's such a weird episode. Like they're barely on the ship at all. It's just in France,
Yeah.
with his asshole brother, a bunch of mud wrestling men.
I enjoyed that episode a lot, but we're
I love it. It's a great episode.
but so that the 2 episodes wrap up there. This is probably one of the high watermarks of Next Generation. Of course, this is just awesome. The writing's great, the acting's fun.
Shelby's hair's
stunning.
Spaceships,
Many
fighting.
spaceships blowing up and.
Nebulas.
And I always go back to like the brilliance of like the design of the Borg ship because it's so like there's nothing fancy about it. It's
No.
so
So
boring.
boring.
It's efficient.
It is
apparently
It's just,
somehow.
Not
They-
even engines you can see.
There's not even like multiple like phaser or weapons banks. There's just one beam that's just really
shoots out,
This is all we
right.
need.
We only need this.
Yeah.
Well, now that we kind of just recapped it, Chris, since you're a guest, obviously this is, I said this is a high watermark of Next Generation.
Yeah.
What are some of your thoughts and feelings about this episode? Anything that stands out or anything you like to comment about?
I thought this was where they were moving into that whole strain where, once Roddenberry didn't have as much influence on the show anymore, where they were really going into that whole thing where they were taking time to develop all the characters and give them real stories and I mean, this was great. It had all the elements you'd want from like a movie. You have this, kind of clearly defined villain.
It does feel very much like
Yeah,
a movie. Like even like the way some of the shots are done, like they're done a little bit
it
differently.
could have been a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and it was, if you were a fan of the show, and I was a big fan of Next Generation, like that cliffhanger, like was, you didn't want to wait at all. You wanted it to everything to be okay.
Yeah.
You just know?
Make it okay.
Yeah, just please.
I remember being shocked as a kid for sure.
And they answered some questions because people would start asking that if you have like a brain, like, well, why doesn't Riker have his own ship? He's been
Right.
doing this for a while.
Right.
So they gave you time to like really address all the characters, and everybody got some of their own time.
For sure. But I mean, like, then again, Sulu was on the Enterprise for like 30 years before you got this Excelsior.
Yeah, he did.
And
that
all
was
the
because
other-
he demanded it.
And
he demanded it for that movie that he be a captain.
and the strange thing is,
He
like,
didn't want to be in the same room with William Shatner.
Chekhov and everyone else are
Yeah.
still in the same positions. They've never moved on.
Uhura's still doing her.
Like, why isn't her like captain of her own ship by the now?
She's just got the the Bluetooth in her ear.
yeah, she's addicted to that Bluetooth.
But yeah, I do remember back in the 90s this being so, well, I guess it was the end of the 90s, or end of the 80s, but it was so like, wow, what the hell is going on?
And they, even when they had the dramatic thing where he was going to fire on the Borg and destroy his own captain and everything, and it just didn't work.
Right.
It didn't even make a spark. Right? It
Right.
just had no impact. So I thought it was good, and especially as far as character development, it gave this haunting thing to Picard to use later, and like when they encountered the Borg later on, like people had that just kind of pure wartime hatred.
Oh, yeah.
Towards
Yeah.
their enemy. When
Yeah.
people were like, they're people. Now they all have to die.
Kill them all.
My response to that threat was to go to one of the old, how they have those Starship depots they've showed a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
They still have the Doomsday Machine from the original series.
We just
do.
talked about that.
They do.
Right? They still have it. They've had time to study it. You just turn that on
It's funny you bring this up.
and point it towards not just the Borg ship, but that entire quadrant, and then you go to bed.
Just let it go.
Just let them mess with that thing for a while.
We talked about the Doomsday Machine last episode,
Okay.
and there's actually a book called Before Dishonor. It takes place after the last Next Gen movie, but basically it involves Spock, 7 of 9, and the Planet Killer, and the Borg are invading again. So like they go and they try to reactivate like 7 of 9, and Spock try to figure out how to turn the Planet Killer back on so they can use it to fight the Borg. Like it's hilarious that you mentioned that because we literally talked about that last
sense. You
time.
turn it on. I would think after. What is the time difference between original series and Next Generation? It's close to 100 years, right?
70.
All right.
Because
67 years,
Bones is still alive.
Yeah.
Because you see him in the.
You've had time to
part.
work on that thing. You don't just park it and leave it. Thank God it's turned off. Right? You've got teams on it. You know how to focus that baby.
Yeah, in the book it's like in a museum right next to the NX-01 or something like that.
What?
It's hilarious.
See, that's just poor planning.
Yeah, they should have been people studying that.
It's like
This is the ship Decker flew into, and you see Thomas Decker standing out and look at it. It's like, I'm gonna be like my daddy.
It's
one
like
day.
finding the Death Star just floating empty in some quadrant and saying, let's just park it and make it an artificial moon for someone.
Yeah, let's just leave it there, an amusement park.
Yeah, it could be a good tidal shift mechanism for indoor or whatever.
Something like that.
But it's a moon for a moon.
Yeah, a moon for a moon, exactly.
Well, Dave, I know this was one of your top 10 of Star Trek episodes.
Yes.
So, do you want to kind of jizz all over this or what?
It was good.
He really leaned in when he said that.
There you go.
Yeah, I just had to finish all over the microphone. I'm sorry.
He's smoking a cigarette now.
Yeah. I'm a very simple man. No, but it's great. I mean, it's great for all the reasons I mentioned, and getting to see it on the big screen was amazing, and the high definition. The torpedo bay is on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
It says Enterprise underneath that, but on back on the day, it just looked like a black line. But you could read it as clear as day.
That's interesting that they must have gone through and done some sort of because that was all standard definition, when it was shot back then.
It was standard definition, but the detail was built into the ship all along. They even made a little animation about the people walking in the background. It looks like Beavis and Butthead. It's crappy animation, but it's just enough to make it look like there's people moving in the lounge behind the bridge.
Huh.
That's also on there. If you watch it on Blu-ray and stuff like that, you can see it now on regular TV if you got if you got the Blu-rays. It's pretty amazing. Just learning all the stuff about it from the movie theater and actually owning them on the Blu-ray now.
Keep throwing that movie theater out there against us.
I used to love watching the behind the scenes when they had the one little scuttlebutt ship, the nacelles were like Bic razors, disposable razors, and they glued on.
Right.
They dressed it up well.
Just like Qui-Gon's communicator. His communicator was a woman's razor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He liked his woman's
There's a problem
shaved.
with that stuff is you can't get away with it. Like filmmaking now, if you shoot in high def, you can't really get away with that stuff anymore because it's so crystal clear.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, it was it was sort of blurry enough where you could, sneak by.
Right.
Well, they painted it and put some greebles on it to make it look a little bit different. But took off the razor part. But there was the handle part of the razor was pretty funny.
Well, besides that, anything else you want to throw out
it's
there?
just like you said, it's amazing. It feels like a movie. It doesn't feel like a regular episode of TV. Everything is shot just a little bit differently this episode, I think. You get one of the earliest Geordie Power roles when they have to shut down the engineering.
The Geordie Power Hour.
Geordie Power Hour.
Reading Rainbow.
Right. Everybody got a power
Everybody,
hour, even the character you didn't care about.
You gotta roll through the doors, even though you got enough time to walk underneath it. It makes it look better that way.
Oh my God.
I don't know. It's just one of those fantastic episodes. It's got the Borg. The Borg are always a fantastic enemy. Although it's weird to see how much they've changed from the first episode where they have Borg babies in a drawer to this episode where they scoop up things, and then to the movie where they don't even scoop things up. They just turn everything into Borg. They turn the cities into Borg and everything.
An answer to the babies in the incubators. That it was when they assimilate a species and they take children.
Right.
They just put them in those maturation chambers until they're big enough to be used as regular Borg. That's what I thought it was much more creepy that they were growing babies.
Right.
Let's make them babies bigger.
That's. I do want to talk a little bit about the Borg and the changes they went through over the last, 15, 20 years or however long it's been with them. But anything else that you want to touch on besides that?
It's just this is where Next Gen. I mean, season 3 in general is where Next Gen got its started to get its stride.
Yeah,
its first 2 seasons were a little bit rough, but this is where Next Gen just took it to 10.
Yeah, it shoots it right out.
Yeah,
there.
and it stayed at 10 until season 7 where they started doing weird things again.
Well, it's I think that you get to a point where the show had enough success where the writers had some comfort. Could be, do some of the things they wanted to do a little bit more, and it had a true like kind of an epic feel to it, a real cinematic feel to it, and it was a show I think coming into its own and doing like dramatic. It was 2 hours, right? It was basically a movie. I thought it was great.
Well, and then I think we talked about a couple months ago when we talked about Unification Part 1 and 2 for Next Gen. That's obviously when Roddenberry passed away. He must have been getting to an age where he was not going to be showing up as much or not as...
Because this is like a year or so before that.
Yeah.
Like maybe 2 at the most.
Maybe 2, yeah. And I think that that might have touched on it, that he wasn't around or he didn't have much of he wasn't as involved. I don't know the exact time.
A couple years ago, like I thought he died before they did this episode because it just was so dark compared to what Roddenberry normally did.
I don't know if you've ever watched it. His son did a documentary. Did you see that?
That was fantastic.
It was really
Trek
good.
Nation,
but
very well done.
One where they did address like when he was kind of, let's be honest, like pushed aside on the show, but it was because he felt like he was in charge of some,
like mission from God.
From God, because of what the fans have just kind of convinced him of over the years.
Right.
Where like
the great bird of the universe.
None of the characters could have interpersonal conflict. He really he wanted this whole like kind of. It was just one unit, all these people working together on a ship. He didn't let them do individual character development as much. Mm-hmm. Look, it came from somewhere. But thankfully, in time, once like that level of influence was taken off or that control they were allowed to, you have to have character development in a show.
Yeah, for sure.
And Best of Both Worlds really gave you a lot of that. It gave a lot of depth to characters that might not have fully had it.
Right.
Yeah, and like before the show, we're talking about, you said like they kind of like got rid of all of that stuff with Deep Space Nine, but it was almost great because it was
freeing
stories. Yeah, so freeing, and
exactly.
Storytelling, which is so amazing what they could do when they were freed from some of those shackles.
I do recall distinctly that because my father was a Star Trek fan, maybe not as rabid as I am, but he did enjoy Star Trek. And when the Borg came aboard as a villain, he kind of felt that it was like, this is like getting a little too weird for Star Trek. And I do think it took a weird turn. I think it's just the complete faithlessness of the Borg, and this is where I want to talk about the Borg in their changing roles. Like at first, they were just a complete collective of a faceless collective of races and technology, kind of like put together. And when we got First Contact, which is an amazing film, I love the film, but the Borg Queen, I kind of feel takes away from that. I kind of feel it gives it more of like now it's an ant colony.
But I think the Borg Queen, I like what the Borg Queen did. The Borg Queen gave the Locutus thing like a reason. Like I like that because it didn't, like you were saying earlier, it didn't make sense that they all of a sudden wanted to make a liaison.
Like why would
it makes more sense that the Queen wanted an equal than that they just randomly gave the humans a liaison.
I think what you got a sense of is that the human race as a whole wasn't something that could be easily assimilated by them. Maybe just too much independence. Mm-hmm. It could create a problem. But the Borg Queen, that's like a very common thing. That fans had a backlash against the Queen. They felt it was just kind of a crap story element, whereas the writers felt that it was needed for dramatic effect. It was needed to give, like, they viewed it as the command node where she was representing the entire collective.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, mind you, that's writer spin, like after the fact.
Of course.
But, I mean, I'm kind of indifferent to it. It doesn't really bother me that I thought it made for a great movie.
I thought it was a great movie.
Great movie, of course.
I thought adding the Queen didn't diminish it at all. I thought it kind of made sense, except for that. I was like, well, if they killed the Queen, wouldn't like the whole Borg go into disarray? And they never went into disarray. She was a descendant
of like the original race that sprouted the Borg.
Humans were the original race that sprouted the Borg. According
she
to
was of like whatever the bloodline was that originally she was like part of that.
It's like I don't. It doesn't bother me that the Queen was. I just kind of felt like it was like a really like completely scary idea that the Borg were just so completely.
Well, it was just a giant, armored beehive floating in space.
Exactly.
It was like, but they didn't want honey. They want you.
They want you and everything.
They want you, honey.
Yeah. They want to, take what the good elements of yourself, of what the races are, and then throw the rest away.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is a creepiness to it of like there's no reasoning.
No.
Like, there's no negotiation. There's no, like, all of these hostile races that they've dealt with in Federation.
You could talk your way out a little bit.
At one time or another, they've sat down and, like, look, what's the point of shooting each other anymore? You go, like, the Romulans, you go live over there. We'll have this buffer zone between us. It's like a separation where you live in the same house.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
It's a duplex. We get the duplex set
Borg
up.
just don't care. It's like we're gonna just gobble you up, and then we're gonna move on to those annoying. We might just destroy the Klingons because of their big heads. You don't know because you didn't see any of them.
But it's like instead of them being locusts and they just take everything, they made them into ants or bees. Which I mean,
Right.
I don't mind. I think it works thematically. I like the Borg Queen. What I don't like is that how Voyager never got blown up in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, that's another thing.
You can.
The Borg were just totally like wussified in Voyager. Like 50 ships met up at Wolf 359.
Yeah.
50, and Voyager takes on like 3 Borg cubes at the same time, and it's a small 150 complement science vessel.
I know, but
it's a science vessel.
We've talked about the problems with Voyager more than once, but
there's a lot of problems.
There's a lot of problems, a lot of logistical storytelling problems with Voyager, but that kind of the other thing, and it's not an issue really. It's just a geek screaming into the woods. But after he got many wedgies,
Are you referencing Guy again? That's not very nice.
No. This is personal story. No, but this is so the Earth is Sector 001 for the Federation. Isn't that a little like kind of an assholic way of like viewing the human race? Is like
they view the galaxy.
We're number one. And this is where everything's ran. It's not the Vulcan planet. It's not the Andorian planet. It's not the Tellarite planet.
Especially not the Tellarite planet. It's like somehow they got last in the number.
I would love to see the Tellarite planet. I wonder what that looks like.
It's lots of food troughs everywhere because they're all pigs.
Well, maybe they had a meeting about that, like the early Federation meeting, and the humans just showed up with like that number 1 hand you see at ball games.
Yeah.
And the Romulans just, or not Romulans, the Vulcans just didn't care.
Well, maybe it's
the Vulcans don't. I mean, the Vulcans
whatever.
have an
You
ego
can be
about it.
one if you
Maybe one will be 2.
Maybe because the Federation was formed on Earth.
That's the rationale.
The sectors just branched out from Earth.
Yeah, but come on. It's kind of like
Vulcans weren't interested in doing the Federation. The humans had to convince him to do it.
Aaron hates his own people.
I don't hate my own people. I just think it's
He looks in the mirror and hates himself.
It's like I hate you.
I do that, but it's an egocentric kind of thing, you know. It's like
Thank you for not killing us.
but you're just sitting there like, yeah, we're number 1, and they're coming right to us. I mean, let's face it. So we've had the Borg multiple times come to Earth now.
We had the little bug things from Conspiracy come toward the Earth.
Conspiracy. We've got the whale probe. We've got V'ger. I mean, like.
Well, V'ger was our fault. So
Okay.
V'ger's fair.
There is a lot of hints, and I think this is people just looking for those hints. To be honest, where there is this school of thought that V'ger was responsible for, like, it's on some level like the Borg.
The Borg.
Well, I think the Borg were responsible for V'ger.
It
Right.
could be.
It's possible.
Either way, because they indicated the Borg had been around a lot longer.
Or they went, or
Yeah.
V'ger went to Cybertron and came back.
So yeah, that makes more sense.
that'd be a great
Cybertron
crossover right there.
But also the books that come right after the Before Dishonor, the Destiny trilogy, they also deal with the rise and fall of the Borg in a 3-part book. It's really good.
Well, so that's me screaming into the woods. But the other thing is, we've all been saying, this is such a great 2-episode. It could be a movie. I wish it was a movie compared to Generations.
Good God, Generations.
Well, I think we've
What's
talked about
wrong with
that.
you people?
Yeah.
Well, look, I really believe it. That is you cannot ignore like how badly the studios meddle in those films.
Oh God, so bad.
And it's across like any big film. I mean, look,
There was
Josh
no reason.
Whedon ran screaming from like Avengers 2
Yeah.
because of studio involvement, not letting him do what I'm sorry, he only made you $1 billion.
Give him some creative freedom.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
So you can't ignore that, and that is completely, the Star Trek is festooned with that just involvement.
I think it's all across the board. Any big franchise, it just gets worse and worse.
Because I stand by my statement that the the final episode of the Next Gen series should have been the first movie.
Yeah, all good things.
Yes, all good things.
100% because it was so great.
And Q deserved, John Delancey deserved to be in a movie
Absolutely.
for Star Trek.
Well,
for sure.
That was a brilliant. That final episode was incredible. You know,
They had to bang that out in like a week, and the same two writers wrote Generations, and they had months and months to work on it.
And could you imagine?
And
could you imagine if All Good Things had like a movie budget with like effects and everything?
Exactly.
That was amazing.
It would have been great. You would have had real character development stuff going on in there, and then you could have moved on to First Contact, which I enjoyed. And then they kind of fell off again and did the lighthearted Insurrection.
Good gosh.
Which was just a big episode.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
not even a very good one.
Over the Top for their final.
And then it was just a really, really poor Wrath of Khan clone.
And the crew, or I should say the cast, have all talked like how that director had no idea what he was doing, and they all had a very bad time on the set.
Well, the Red Letter Media for Nemesis, like the whole reason they have that whole Argo scene where they're off-roading is because the director was like, oh, Picard likes, or Patrick Stewart likes off-roading, so we're going to design a set piece where he can ride a dune buggy around,
which makes
because he likes sense. So you created a shuttlecraft to house a dune buggy. So you created something that's extremely useful to house something that's not useful at all.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a weird scene. Just to go on, just a couple things here. Our last episode that we had Chris on, we talked about conspiracy, and our director for this episode for Best of Both Worlds is Cliff Boyle, and he directed Conspiracy as well. Another interesting thing is Cliff Boyle worked with a whole bunch of people. Not just with Next Generation. He worked with William Shatner. He directed he directed the pilot of T.J. Hooker. So there you
nice.
go. He also directed lots of episodes of The $6 Million Man, Baywatch, MacGyver, The X-Files.
How come we didn't get any Baywatch stuff happening in this episode?
I know. He was
Deanna Troi running in slow motion.
He also works with Avery Brooks for Spencer for Hire. And with Ricardo Montalban in Fantasy Island.
Wow.
And the Bolian race is named after him.
Nice.
So
he's big and
Cliff
blue.
Boyle. And everyone says he was nice, but Will Wheaton says that he kind of treated him shitty on the set because he was always just grabbing him, like literally physically grabbing him and putting him in place in the scene. Like, okay, you stand right here.
He didn't think Will Wheaton could act. Some people still don't think he can act, but
I mean,
I love Will Wheaton as a person. He's a great geek, and I love his tabletop show.
I mean, if you see Stand By Me, it's not a bad movie. Come on,
I've never seen it.
We have a Will Wheaton defender.
What's that?
Will Wheaton was. I mean, the way they had to write him off the show by making him a space wizard. You're
a wizard, Harry. Oh,
so special.
Well, the Traveler in the first season told them that I've got to molest you one day, but I got to wait till you're older before it's legal.
Do you want one finger or all three?
And then I can take you around the galaxy and show you how to do it.
Just wait till I start phasing you.
Oh,
we'll phase into each other. It's kind of like Odo, but
he would just show up. He's like, "How old are you now?" Oh, I gotta wait a couple. I'll be back.
I'll be back. Yeah.
I'll be back on your 18th
He's very
birthday.
special. And the thing is, it's almost sort of implied that he's got to be related to the Traveler to have the. So he
I never quite
knocked out his mom.
We should talk about that sometime. Get into the Will Wheaton Traveler, cross connection.
So how was he a Traveler if his dad was, Mr. Crusher? So I'm pretty sure his dad wasn't really Mr. Crusher.
Yeah, exactly. It was,
Pretty sure the Traveler traveled.
Oh, maybe it was that ghost thing that molested in Sub Rosa.
Is the ghost thing also a
maybe it's a Traveler that's molesting Beverly.
Beverly's family, yeah.
And maybe he molested her and gave her his seed.
I don't think she didn't get obsessed with him.
And he would be sort of like the Anakin Skywalker of the Star Trek universe.
Oh, creepy!
You might actually pick Hayden Christensen over that.
Oh God, no, I don't. No, I don't think I'd still pick him. I just
I don't know. I mean, you're talking about Wesley Crusher here.
Well, the thing is that we've got on.
They're both pretty whiny.
We've done
They should have a whine off.
Yeah, they did, but I just we've talked because we've covered now, Chris. We've covered episode 1, 2, and 3 of the prequels of Star Wars.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we've just basically discovered how much we do not like Hayden Christensen in those movies.
You know what? Can we talk about that?
Sure, we
Go
can
ahead.
talk
Okay,
about-
so I've had a lot of thoughts. So one thing, especially with the new movies, and I'm a George Lucas defender in this respect, in that he is actually, there's a lot of subtlety to his storytelling that unless you're really paying attention doesn't come out. Now that's a fault in him as a director.
It's so subtle, like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous how subtle. Like, in a way, he's pseudo genius, but he's so pseudo genius he doesn't explain
say
to
the
you where it's coming from.
That's because the fundamental problem is he's so enamored with nowadays the effects and this, and like the green screen and everything like that he wasn't directing actors, and that's a problem.
Well, he didn't even direct actors back in American Graffiti.
Well, yeah, but if you go back to he only did the first movie, right? And
Right.
then he had other
Then
directors
he
come
walked
on and
away,
do
yeah.
2 and 3. Look, David Lynch was supposed to direct Return of the Jedi.
That would have been amazing.
So weird.
And Lynch, I'm a huge David Lynch fan, but he turned it down because he's
going to do Dune.
Well, what he said was, it would be my movie, not yours,
Right.
is what he said to Lucas.
Yeah,
But I think it would be a crazy movie. to
Oh
watch.
my
It
God,
would have been amazing.
So strange.
Jabba
but
the
I
Hutt.
mean-
The Jabba the Hutt scene would have been bonkers.
So then you have him
Laura
directing,
Palmer walks through.
Yeah. You have him walking or directing these prequel movies, and there's no one. He's at a level where there's no one saying, "Hey, you should stop.
Yes.
This is bad." Like no one's telling him what to do. He's writing all the dialogue, and it's awful.
That's what we were saying. Like,
Yeah, this is
he
my,
had no one to
My
challenge
comparison is the Paul McCartney. You don't have a John Lennon say that song sucks.
Yeah, no, just sing it. Just sing it. Get a
Yeah.
ukulele. You know,
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And it really is that. And I do have respect. Like the first movie is annoying. And I'll tell you how I would have fixed it. Let me give you my fan review.
Sure.
I would have.
I'm literally in pain. You're just talking about.
I would have had Anakin be older, not a child.
him. Yes,
Right.
not played by Hayden Christensen.
Exactly. And one thing I would do is I would probably have him. This sounds stupid, but I would probably have him be older, angry, of course. I would have had him be black hair with blue eyes, and I would have had Padme be blonde hair with brown eyes, so that when the children came out, they were a proper mix of both parents.
It's so strange that you brought that up.
Right, so that you could see that Luke wasn't just so much like his dad. Luke had enough of his, and I would have done that. I think that's like a nice visual subtlety you can put in there, because Star Wars, if you really look at it, the first 6 movies, it's really the story of Anakin Skywalker. Because at the end of the 6th, he really is the one that brings balance back to the Force. He's the one that destroys the Emperor, not Luke.
But there is no balance in the Force anymore if there's no Sith.
Well, but the other side of it is
Well, I think if you read after that, like, you know, Luke wasn't as rigid and so dickish as... Because if you really watch those movies, what you see is the Jedi had become flawed.
yeah, they've been so
Yeah.
entrenched.
They had been
They're
so
basically
entrenched.
Riker and his command position not wanting
Like,
to.
I've had to talk about this. Had Qui-Gon not died, and he was Anakin's master, what you probably would have seen is like, all right, this kid's got a problem. I'm going to take him to, like, you know, space brothel, get him laid. Qui-Gon probably would have done that. I'm going to get it out of the system. The kid is obsessed with his mother, and they just want to keep him from his mother.
well, and
We'll get him
There's
some
all
really
these-
hot milfs. You know,
Yeah,
it'll be
right,
cool.
that's what I'm
Twi'leks.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, those are probably some of the things that might have happened behind the
well,
scenes.
but like Dave always brings out, and I think it was a great idea, is that the prequels should have focused more on Obi-Wan,
Well, they were meant to. It was.
because I think it would have been a stronger story.
Let me tell you something. If it had happened the way it was supposed to focus on Obi-Wan. They even had some, what do you call it, production art put forward where the Jedi had a more almost samurai look to them.
That would have been.
Oh, that'd been cool.
Yeah, because they were older, you know, and that it was supposed to be Obi-Wan, and the actor that desperately wanted the role was Kenneth Branagh. And I thought he would have done.
Oh, wow.
He would have been an incredible Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because he
Kenneth
was obsessed
Branagh?
with Alec Guinness. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, but
A little old, though.
well, yeah, but it doesn't make sense because, I mean, Ewan McGregor's a young guy, and, like, by the time they get to, like, A New Hope, he's, you know, in his 70s sitting in the desert.
But, I mean, he did look kind of old. I mean, they aged him pretty well,
They had to for the movies.
in Revenge of the Sith.
I
They
just
made
think
him-
it would have made more sense to have him be older, and, you know... But I'll be honest, I really like the Qui-Gon character. I just thought the movies it was, you know, a masturbatory fantasy of CGI.
Yeah.
and was less focused on stories and acting. Because look, Natalie Portman's a great actress.
So is Liam Neeson.
But you watch those movies. Well, he can. She's really struggled in those movies.
That's the one thing as we talked about in all those episodes is that is the Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, both beautiful people, and yet there is no chemistry whatsoever.
No chemistry. Well, I think that's Hayden Christensen more than anything else.
Yeah.
And because the subtlety in the story is, you see the Emperor who's so powerful that he can hang out with the Jedi and they have no idea that he's there.
Right.
And that he has been slowly, delicately manipulating this kid his entire life.
Right.
And feeding into those fears and everything else, knowing that he's so powerful, he wants him to have, be his own. And really, and there's another subtle element if you watch the end where, Obi-Wan just leaves him to roast on the, on the thing.
Right.
I'm going to take your lightsaber and get out of here, kid, just to enjoy being on fire.
Right.
When the Emperor shows up, there's this delicate moment where you see him like kneeling. He puts his hand on his forehead. It's not like I think in the later books where they portrayed the Emperor's hating Vader and always treat him like garbage. There was a father-son element to it too.
Okay.
But you have to. It's something I think if you're just going to enjoy the movie, you won't get.
It's also interesting because on that scene, when it flashes back between Obi-Wan's putting his hand on Natalie Portman's head too.
Yeah,
just checking her temperature because she's freaking burning up, but fever, but not physically burning up. But it was interesting. It's interesting juxtaposition between those two scenes when it goes back.
And that's
what
I'm saying is Lucas is capable of that. And when you really think the Rebels cartoon, not Rebels is the newer one, but the Clone Wars and everything else.
Right.
When there were some incredible episodes of that series, really they kind of blew me away. And Lucas had a direct influence with the writers on all of those, on what his overall story arcs were.
Sure.
But it doesn't look. There's so many failures in the prequels that.
Well, in the prequels, I think you're right. They became so enamored with the special effects, and unfortunately, the story suffered. The thing is, and I don't want to get into Rogue One because we are going to talk about it in the future on a future episode here. But Rogue One, great movie, visually beautiful. The only thing I felt going away from it, because we had a discussion, if you go
on the
Nerdynomicon, we talked
check
about
out their podcast.
Podcast. We did
immediately after viewing.
The day
opening night,
2 hours away. We recorded our reactions. It misses. And of course, this is not the same, but Lucas obviously puts in Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey within his hero's story. This does not have any of that.
No.
It's just a bunch of jackasses in the Star Wars universe. And that's where I think it kind of goes away. And I know the prequels don't really have the hero's journey as much. It kind of it has maybe little echoes here and there because it is Anakin. But I don't know. It just like Star Trek, I feel like your science fiction should have something that's going to be. It's not just
that
us,
guides it.
It's just not us out in space.
Well, I actually qualify. I think I see there's a distinction between sci-fi and science fiction.
Sure.
To me, the way I would define it, science fiction is just more, I think, story driven. A movie like Fifth Element, which I love, I think that's science fiction to me. Whereas sci-fi is, I think, more of the pure entertainment,
sure, but
type things. But they're. With Rogue One, I think what they're trying to show, they want to make a Star Wars movie,
of course,
but also that there's all these little side, these people you don't know about, all these little side,
and that you don't need to know about.
That you don't need to know about,
right?
But they're getting their ground. They paid $4 billion for Star Wars. They're going to do what they,
I guess what my point is that I always feel that most, especially science fiction, not so much fantasy because fantasy is a little different. Can be, but I always felt that a good science fiction story, no matter how it's based, if it's hard science or if it's soft science like Star Wars, it should have some sort of moral underlying story that's trying to like a great Twilight Zone.
You're right about that. If you think back to I was a big Transformers fan when I was a kid.
Sure.
And I watched all those cartoons. Now they just wanted to sell us toys. Make no mistake.
Of course.
They just wanted to sell us toys, but they couldn't help but give you an ethic lesson along the way.
Right.
And your morals along the way because that's what you did. You have good and evil, etc. And I think those lines get more blurred
Right.
with a lot of stuff now.
Well,
Yeah.
and just to go along with that is that something that's kind of like coming to my attention, and I don't know if anybody else has picked up on this, like, you know, obviously Disney World and Disneyland are picking up on the Star Wars theme because they own Star Wars. They've got like stormtroopers just kind of like marching through the thing, and I'm like, they are the bad guys.
Well, no, just like what they did with Epcot.
Right.
They took Epcot, which is the symbol of like this beautiful future of
Future
like,
world.
science and like
And they projected the
philosophy.
Death Star onto it.
And they project the Death Star into it and have like a planet killing thing.
That's fucking morbid.
Well, look, it's very common. Like if you look at the story of, let's say, Luke Skywalker, this is a great story of like the farm boy that goes to like fight
Absolutely.
and like wins this giant, you know,
Goes
saves
against
the world.
monster and saves
exactly
the story of Theseus and all these other
exactly.
things. Yeah.
And then you have, but I mean, the bad guys. I'll tell you, we do something with Ominous Press where we have on our website you can vote because there's the two sides, the light and the dark, right? The two main characters. And we have, you can vote for which side you prefer. And, well, guess which one is creeping up?
Dark.
It always is. There's this current infatuation in our culture with like villains.
Why?
Well, who knows?
A lot of times it's the coolest. I mean, Darth Vader. I mean, if you say someone who knows nothing about Star Wars, granted they're not very many, the first person to say is Darth Vader. He's the most iconic character in Star Wars, even more so than Luke or Han.
I don't know. I have an issue with it. It's not that I don't. Obviously, I was a huge Darth Vader fan. I had a poster of Darth Vader in my room when I was a kid growing up. I mean, I loved Darth Vader growing up. I hugged Darth Vader at the Burger King. Some guy dressed up as him, and I said, "I love all your movies." When I was like, 8 years old or whatever. That all being said, I feel that like stormtroopers marching through Disney World as like it's like, why don't we just have SS guards marching through Disney World?
And that's the thing. It's like I think, and part of it's that storytelling when you think of like Vader and like Anakin Skywalker is what he never gave himself completely over, and he had to live like so many years of knowing like he created this kind of Nazi hell that existed. Like that conflict was in him the whole time. Like and that's another thing. If you really look at the prequels and you see like Naboo, right? The ships, everything was beautiful, technology. Why the Emperor was so successful is because like they had achieved this level of society where like war on that scale just simply didn't exist.
Right. So
like the droid army, like it was just a real problem, and then they had like manipulating with the clone army and setting all that stuff up. No one knew what to do. The Jedi just kind of jumped in and like started fighting. And it was but yeah, Vader was responsible for creating essentially what was like Nazi horror like upon the entire galaxy.
Well, I mean, obviously, George Lucas was pulling off, the Nazi, stormtroopers and everything like that. Obviously, that's all a callback to that. It just to me is like now we have elevated in our pop culture, and I think we've as collectively, because there's not many World War II, survivors left in our society. I don't think we remember the crazy batshit stuff that happened.
Oh, I know. Of course we don't.
And I mean, obviously, I was not alive for World War II, so I don't know. But I have read and known enough about history to know how crazy it was. But I think a lot of people don't freaking know.
Well, just like there's one of my favorite memes or whatever you call it online, where it's like Obi-Wan giving Luke the lightsaber.
Oh yeah, it's like
here's your father's lightsaber. He killed 35 children with it.
Right? Yeah.
It's like that's what he did.
He killed 35 kids, and I maimed him and left him for dead. And I took this as a memento for me. I mean you.
Yeah.
No, I
cut off the rest of his limbs and left him on a volcano.
Yeah. I guess the whole thing is that. I have an issue when it comes to we've elevated the dark side of everything. Like you said, Epcot, the Epcot symbol planet thing turned into the Death Star. That's freaked out. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, I love the Death Star. I love all that stuff. It's fun, but I wouldn't elevate it to that status.
But it was a Star Wars celebration they were
And,
doing.
like-
I mean, it's not like they could project it.
Well, I mean,
I guess they could project an X-wing on it,
think
but
Aaron's
it wouldn't
talking
be
to
the
like a
same.
larger point. Of,
And-
like you're talking about like what you're celebrating is like the worst.
What are you celebrating? Thank you. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. And like we were saying before we start recording, we were talking about Zack Snyder's version of DC and Superman. How it's this dark side of
It's like
everything.
really dark blues and like maroons,
Yeah.
instead
But
of
it's
like
just
bright reds and bright
even the
blues.
feeling of Superman. Superman should have been this high ideal of like the of somebody that maybe you will never become Superman because you're not an alien from Krypton, but he could kill everybody in the planet.
Yeah,
but he won't.
if you really want to, and what I believe is like the truest interpretation of Superman. Now that we've gone off on a different tangent here,
Way off.
Way
off.
We'll come back to Star Wars. There's 2 novels out there written by the same guy. One's called Miracle Monday. There's The Last Son of Krypton, and I think those are Superman books that are, I think, the best representation of what the character is, because it wasn't with Luthor viewed Superman's existence as an imbalance in the universe, so he chose to become the villain to bring that balance back, and he was just a pure criminal. And Superman was just as smart as he was. It wasn't necessarily a battle of like brains versus brawn. Superman was just as intelligent, and it was just who could outmanipulate the other one. Great books if you ever pick them up. It's quick. You read them in like
What were they called again?
Last Son of Krypton, and the other one's called Miracle Monday.
And they're novels, they're not comics.
They're novels. They're paperbacks, and probably 125, 150 pages maybe, but they're great books to read.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you on the whole Disney, like the celebration of. I mean, Doritos commercials. There's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It's when I was a kid, like that wasn't. I mean, for me, it was less Luke Skywalker than it was Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon when I was a kid.
Sure.
And I had my Han Solo and Carbonite was him frozen in iced tea because I didn't have the toy.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that being said, Chris, is that Han Solo was still a good guy.
Well, he was. That's what I mean. He was
a little, shady,
He's like a pirate with a heart of gold.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's shady, but he's on the side of
Well,
good.
that's why he still was a good guy.
Yeah.
And it was
And obviously, we see him come around.
yeah, you do. You realize that he just it was how whatever happened in his life that like jaded him, and
And that's why I think we've touched upon this on past episodes, but this is one of the reasons why I love Star Trek compared to a lot of other things, because Star Trek is supposed to dwell on what humanity could be, the better side of humanity,
the hopeful version of the future.
the hopeful, the angels of our better nature. And I know there's been a lot of talk in the last recent year or so of how our society has slowly become more peaceful altogether. That we've had less homicides, less dreadful wars and stuff like that. And hey, maybe that could be the calm before the storm. Who the hell knows? But as on par, we have become a better in society. And I'm just hoping that we continue to become better. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's a different story. I mean, but that's what I would want.
Yeah,
that's what I hope for. And I know
want
Dave,
Star Trek to happen.
I know.
Me
Me and Dave talked about this more than once.
This needs to be a thing. Like
that we put away stupid prejudice. We put away our small-mindedness.
I think if you're looking at it from like a realism, you're going to inject that perspective into it. I mean, it's the only way we'll really survive as a species.
Sure, absolutely.
If we get over like the petty nonsense, and that includes like not just people getting along with one another, but even things like religion.
Oh, yeah.
Which I mean, they didn't have the courage to truly touch on it. I think in the series as much, but it was clear from some statements made that they had kind of moved beyond that.
Yeah, they kind of we've talked about this more than once. That I mean, obviously, alien planets will have religion, but humankind seems to kind of be ambiguous. They touch on on God, but they don't really say what faith or denomination. So, which hey, I mean, I think that plays out good for a lot of reasons. I think, you just don't want to piss off your audience to say, you
can appeal to everybody if you're not saying
this version of religion is the religion that we're going to go for.
But that's where like there's the 2 places left to explore is the oceans, because we've touched so little of them.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it.
And then go the other direction, and that's like outwards, and it's really the only answer.
Sequest.
See what you know what? I watch
Talking
Sequest.
dolphins.
I won't.
I like Sequest.
I like. Cause I'll tell you, I was always a huge.
What is
Roy
that, Flipper?
Scheider.
What is it? Speak.
Dolphin? Why, they could have given it any voice.
Yeah, but they had to give him that stupid
Yeah.
dolphin voice.
They could have been bold and like hired James Earl Jones.
James Earl
He
Jones.
could be the Dolphins voice.
The dolphin.
I am your
But even
father.
that show, I was a huge fan of Roy Scheider, and he left the show because they, of course, in order for ratings, started becoming more about conflict and like military conflict under the seas. Then, like he wanted it to be all about
Exploration. And...
no, well, exploration and conservation because he was a huge conservationist, and that was his goal for the show. But people don't want to watch that; they want to watch lasers firing off like submarines.
Yes.
I know, and that's the thing.
Underwater lasers.
I mean, and that's the same thing. And I kind of feel, honestly, that's where we're kind of going with Star Wars, and unfortunately, a little bit with Star Trek as well. We don't know yet, of course. Of course, we talked. Before we record about Discovery, that there's some rumors that Star Trek Discovery might be taking place during the Klingon warp with the Federation, the 4-year war. I don't know if that's true. There's no way to confirm that right now.
It could make sense that they've got a main Klingon cast for the show.
Yeah, but
Like
I'm hoping that the end result is that they obviously come to some kind of peace resolution or something. I don't know. It's just one of those things that I just
we'll probably come to a Cold War, like how it was in
Absolutely.
TOS.
I don't know. It's a thing that plagues me constantly. It's like
maybe the show will build up to the whole Kittimer thing, right? Which is that's what the Peace Accord came from, is the Romulans attacking.
Yeah, but
but the Kittimer Accords that happened like Enterprise C era.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
So this is like
this would be
A.
This is pre Kirk. So this is as we said, Garth of Isgard from what's the episode? The Crazy
For
House.
Whom Gods Destroy?
For Whom Gods Destroy from the original series. So if they have, maybe they will have a Garth of Isgard in this show.
Who knows?
Until you watch it, you just don't know if they're going to do it right.
Yeah.
And even some good science fiction shows, Star Trek has, I think, a really uphill battle to make it work because it's been done so many times in so many different ways, and I think they still covet it too much.
Yeah.
Also uphill battles that CBS is producing, and they have no idea what they want to do with it.
Well, exactly. I mean, you look at what Sci-Fi Network did. They had, I thought, some great series with like the Stargate series,
Right?
And Stargate Atlantis. I really enjoyed that show, but the only reason they canceled it is because it came too expensive to do. So then they went to that Stargate Universe, which was basically Voyager, where they were trapped on some ship, but it was a little more.
Didn't they do that with Buck Rodgers too? They were just flying around in space after a while.
Well, that might have been second season of Buck Rodgers.
Yeah, it was second season.
Like the flamboyantly gay robot on the bridge, and
it was fantastic.
Yeah, they were just it was. They were just kind of flying around in space.
But they had 3PO?
Twinkie.
And I always liked it. I always liked the Vipers, not the Vipers. What were the fighter ships called?
Forgot the
Buck
name
Rodgers.
of them.
But they were
Vipers or BSG?
I'm talking about Buck Rodgers.
Buck Rodgers.
I remember
I've not seen Buck Rodgers.
Okay, so they're the actual awesome fighter ships.
I actually had the
show.
toy of the Buck Rodgers
That
fighter.
was the throwaway design of the Viper from Battlestar. Or from,
It's a cool fighter. It's a cool.
cool.
Fighter.
That was the original design of the Vipers, and they tossed it away and went with the smaller design.
Well, anyways, I think we've gone far off topic.
But that's okay. Tangents are all right.
Tangents are fun.
We've talked Star Trek, Star Wars, Superman,
I think
and Buck Rodgers.
what we're dealing with, though, is trying to heal Aaron's heartbreak.
It is part of it. And Chris, you're right.
The Borg Queen, yeah.
The Borg Queen, but not just the Borg Queen, me screaming into the woods from the wedgies. It's the idea of I crave the idea that we could be a symbol for us to aim for, like a guiding light. Like Next Generation was that guiding light. The original series was that guiding light. Something, a beacon to go say, maybe we won't get there now, but someday we might get there.
Maybe we won't blow each other up.
Yeah, and I just feel that we constantly be like, well, there's not enough laser guns shooting, and I'm not interested.
Well, I like when you made the comment about was your father felt like they had gone off too far with the Borg and whatnot. But watch the original series that was back in the day when they had true science fiction authors writing those episodes. That's how you ended up with like Abraham Lincoln floating in front of the ship.
That's great.
Or exactly. or
insane thing.
The thing that always stuck out about the original Star Trek series, think of how many odd like parallel Earths they discovered. Where like they had these similar timelines,
like 3 or 4 at least.
Yeah. What was the one? Remember where there was the crazy captain that was just hosing down an entire army with the phaser, and at the end, like Kirk read the Declaration of Independence as only one Shatner can.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to remember the name of the episode right now.
And they had the actual Declaration of Independence.
Like, how the hell did that all come?
What?
How did that all come together? Right.
And it was, but I mean, that was a totally different era of I think writing and
And there's a theory out there that if space is infinite, then there is another Earth out there with everybody here doing this podcast right now, doing the same thing.
Maybe they stayed on topic better.
Yeah,
maybe they did. We won't know.
Maybe in the multiverse universe, they stay on topic better.
Well, because we can't comprehend that the Earth.
Because maybe they don't drink the entire time while they're doing the shit like we do.
Maybe they don't. Yeah. But anyway,
they're sober.
I mean, it's,
soberholics.
That's my gripe with all pop culture, sci-fi, geek culture is that we're consumed with the dark and not so much heading towards those.
And that's why we need Star Trek. And Star Trek is a beacon of hope. Like all these people from NASA, like were inspired by the original series. I really hope that Discovery has that hope in it, and that it'll inspire a whole new generation of people to work at NASA. When you really think
about it, the only bad guys in Star Trek that became like kind of beloved were the Klingons,
right?
And they kind of. I'm sorry for all the Klingon lovers out there, but they kind of became like the bumbling neighbor.
Of course,
they just drank too much blood wine.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just couldn't believe that they had it.
They got that far.
They had cloaking devices. Like, where were they just stealing it from everybody else? Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
And you'd have to think so. That
they bang their heads together for fun.
But no one you don't have what Aaron's talking about, where the people just have this love infatuation with the Borg, or they're identified as a real problem, and like these other, they suck.
Yeah, and there are people out there, and I'm not knocking if you love the Borg. Obviously, it's your thing, but I mean, there's people that genuinely that's their favorite villain, and they love the Borg. That's what they're all about.
And I argue with my friend about Deep Space Nine because it was his favorite of all the.
Well, it's Dave's
my favorite also.
But my problem was the Dominion was basically like you just stay away from us. We'll stay away from you. You stay away from us. It's kind of the attitude they had, and it was the Federation that decided to send a bunch of Galaxy ships over to show them what was what.
It's like,
they got their asses handed to them.
I mean, they had gotten captured. Cisco gotten captured. They sent a singular Galaxy class over to help rescue them because it was Quark and Cisco and Jake and Nog. All captured, so they send a Galaxy.
All throwaway.
But there was another point where they sent a few in, just to kind of.
Well, they sent one in, and then they get kamikazed by the Jem'Hadar ship.
Right.
But my point being, I think that's where you saw the turn where it was a common thing with shows at that time, where it became us in space. They engaged in chemical warfare,
of course, and we've talked about one of your favorite episodes more than once is Pale Moonlight, where Cisco draws the Romulan Empire into the war against the Dominion by basically lying them in
murdering, and sabotage,
just to bring them in. And I've listened to different people and different philosophies of how the ends justify the means and all that stuff. And there's some arguments to it, I guess. But I mean, sometimes in the time of war, you do need somebody to get down and dirty and take care of things that you wouldn't do normally. But that being said, Star Trek, I always felt, is supposed to be smarter
because that shouldn't have been necessary. Even though you have races in conflict in that show, they all have, which was established in Next Generation. All those humanoid races have a central origin from a species that seeded the universe. They all knew it.
Yeah, they are all related to each other somehow.
But at the same time, it's like if the Dominion or the Borg are like this, that they're not a threat to one group. They're not a threat to the. They're a threat to every planet, every race. Dominion, basically the same thing. There should be this coming together of minds of we have a problem. And we need to get together and work on this instead of poisoning and murdering. And
but of course, as anything, even World War II, America wasn't really keen on joining in the fight in Europe when you have the Nazi and Japanese
That's
threats.
right, because the same thing with the French. I mean, it was the losses of World War I were so devastating.
They just didn't want to do it.
The United States had become xenophobic, and that's why we did the Lend-Lease Act. And the truth is, we knew that the Japanese were going to attack us. We just didn't know where.
Right.
We knew attack was imminent, and the government, for whatever, they kind of
just
knew that's what it would take to motivate the populace to say, okay, now we have somebody's ass to kick.
Right.
And that's how we got into it.
And FDR was cunning that way.
Yeah, he was. He was very cunning, but that's
polio.
If I were to announce my biggest beef with some like things in Star Trek and some other shows is when it is us in space. It's like how we can identify now with what we would do now. You're stealing like hope from people, and you're also stealing that sense of like letting people think, wow, I would have done this. I would have shot that guy in the head and blamed it on that guy, and then they'd be my friends. Instead of
instead of taking the high road,
and like maybe it's a little takes some more time, but I mean it's the way to do things,
right?
And like, we transition to what we understand, and that's a problem,
right? Well, hey, these are problems we're going to wrestle with probably for the rest of our lives, and I'll be screaming in the woods for a very long time.
Why are you hanging out in the woods so much?
Oh man! Well, it's the only time.
Are you one of those clowns that just hang out by the edge of the woods?
I'm actually I'm more like
burying things.
Yeah. No, I'm more like Clint Eastwood and Paint Your Wagon, singing to the trees. I talk to the trees, but they don't listen to me. But anyways, it was great talking about this. I mean, obviously, we went way off track.
And everything else that we talked about.
Best of both worlds. Great episodes.
It's just great. I mean, like, I don't have an issue with this.
No, there's nothing to complain about this episode.
Oh no, it's a great Star Trek episode. It's not episodes.
And there's nothing really to. I mean, besides maybe Shelby's hair.
Shelby's hair is a problem.
Yeah, it dates. It doesn't. It doesn't track well with.
And you had that great. Who do you think you're messing with? Moment with Data and Locutus at the end when he grabs his arm.
Yeah.
He's just looking at him like, hey, you nothing to me.
Yeah. I'm
going to go take this from you now.
Yeah, just let me rip your hand off.
Exactly.
I just like how he looks at it too.
All those LED
it was
lights.
my hand.
If he pulled it off and just fluid shot all over him.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress.
Well, Dave, who provides all our music?
Oh, our music is provided by Warp 11. You can find them at warp11.com or Warp 11 on Twitter. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. Rate us and review us, please. We need ratings and reviews so we can get up in the charts.
Absolutely. Let us know how you think. Give us stars, many Star Trek stars.
Email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com if you have any questions, concerns, idea topics, or just anything we've said before that you want to comment on.
Things that you scream out in the woods at night.
What do you scream out in the woods?
At night. When you're by yourself.
At night.
At night. Especially at night.
Like, come back here.
Get over here.
Damn raccoons!
You can run all you want.
You can run,
all
but
kinds
you
of things
can't
he's yelling in the dark.
Yeah. We also have a Patreon. If you think the show's worth $1 or more than $1,
Throw a buck a month. What's a buck a month? You spend more of that on coffee and hamburgers
and feeding children overseas.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Less than $1 a month, you can support a Synthaholic.
I know.
And also Guy Dan, and that's at patreon.com/Synthaholics. If you want to support Guy and all the work that he does with USS Tamerlane and Witches of Flame, and just because he's an artist in general, you can check out his Patreon at patreon.com/GSDavisArt.
And check out his comics as well. He's got some great online comics, like he said, USS Tamerlane.
Witches of Flame.
And he also does his podcast, Geek Tank.
Geek Tank, yeah, Rocky Mountain Geek Tank. And we're having him and his co-host come on to talk about Rogue One later this month.
Yeah.
Also,
with spoilers.
Just tons and tons of spoilers. If you want to hear more spoilers about Rogue One, you can check out the Nerdy Nomicon. They did an episode earlier in December.
Hilarious.
Yes, it is very funny.
We are off the chain on that one. Be careful.
Robbie from the Geekyverse and Josiah from... Robbie from Artful Gremlins, Nerdy Nomicon, and Josiah from the Geekyverse. We did a 4-way conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing more roundtables with them in the future on their shows.
And Chris, where can they find you and Ominous Press? and everything else that you're in the many things.
How can they send you more movies to watch?
For that, that would be BuffaloDreamsFilmFest.com. And you can find us on Facebook or Twitter. And as far as Ominous Press goes, you can just Google Ominous Press. We have a website. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and we just released a new variant from Bart Sears, a Justice League versus Suicide Squad.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Triptych cover, 3 connecting covers. It's pretty sweet.
Bart Sears, as we were saying, is one of those artists that are very influential. If you don't know who he is, you should look him up and look up Ominous Press as well, because they have some amazing books coming out, and it's well worth your time to check them out. And there's just more good stuff that's going to be coming out soon.
And maybe they'll be at a con near you.
Yeah.
That's very true.
It could be.
Yeah, stop by and say hi. Say we heard you on Synthaholics.
Absolutely.
And they'll give you a thumbs up probably if they
will. Get an autograph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
check it out.
We just hope that you have a great 2017. I hope you keep listening to us because, hey, we love talking about Star Trek, Star Wars, Superman, Buck Rodgers, everything else.
Science fiction in general.
Yeah.
We love it.
We love it. We love talking with you. We love spending time with you and just getting to know.
And we love answering your emails. So, of course, send us if you want to just tell us how your day was, we'll read that on the air and we'll respond to it.
And Aaron wants to take you out into the woods and yell things.
Scream things with me in the woods.
In his nondescript van, as he explained it to me.
Yes, Aaron.
Let's not talk about the van because that's going to get me in trouble.
Okay. No serial killer van here.
No.
Shush.
I arrived and was told, just go park by the dumpsters.
I'll tell you about back later.
Easy to put the body parts in there.
That's my apartment complex dumpsters, you hear? Man, those things were full after Christmas, man. They were overflowing.
Full now.
Now they are, body parts and all.
Extra full. Well, thank you all so very much for listening. You know where to bury your body parts. Live long and prosper, everyone. Happy 2017. Make it so. Stay safe.
Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink and we'll cry till we laugh. And we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
It's just what they do. I'm serious. I was like getting ready to...
Doing that thing they do.
Aren't you going to go help get Hunter into bed? I said, well, you know I'm leaving. Well, yeah.
But
I thought you'd go.
But if she goes out with any of her friends, you're just like, yeah, okay, see you later.
Just go. I'll take care of everything.
Yeah, he's like, but then like,
just like go up, and of course, and then there's like I got to read Toy Story 3. Get through all that. Is there anything else you need? Would you like me? Well, if you could take the. I know it's cold out, but if you could move the swing set to the other side of the yard before you go. It's always like a totally ridiculous thing.
Herculean thing.
Yeah, it's just like you just can't accomplish on your own.
Oh, this sounds like good post show stuff. I'll go move the swing set over.